Welcome to First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast. I'm your host, James Gardner, certified athletic therapist, certified strength and conditioning specialist, yoga instructor, human being. This platform, for the pros, by the pros, anybody in the performance space, and beyond. Welcome here to share in the stories of professionals, experiences, journeys, learning along the way. It's a platform to connect, to network, and to be a part of a community that cares, with conversations that matter, experiences that resonate, and generate ideas, thought-provoking, organic dialogue, passionate pros. Brought to you as always by First Star Therapy, Mobility Tape, Epic, and Benchmark Athletics, in association with the Canadian Athletic Therapists Association. It's First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast. Thanks for being here. Thank you for being a part of it. All right, we're in the podcast studio. It's First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast, the official podcast of WFAT. Pleased to be joined by Siobhan O'Donovan. Did I get it right?
You got that right.
Beautiful. An amazing presentation yesterday. You're doing some really amazing work that I don't think enough people know about. Quite rightly named, the Booby Physio. Tell us a little bit about your work, where you are, what you're doing, and why that matters to a significant amount of the population, if not all.
And you're absolutely right with the last sentence. It matters to all the population. It affects about just over half the population, but it matters to everybody. So spot on. So yeah, where do we start? I began my life as an athletic trainer in the States. I went to the States to do a qualification that I couldn't find in Ireland or England at the time, because this was hundreds of years ago when I was finishing my first degree, which was in phys ed teaching, and I wanted to learn more about how to stop the students that I was teaching from getting injured, and found out about this degree in the States, went off and did my master's, did my NATA certification, and then came back across the pond again, worked within the field of sports medicine for quite a few years, and then moved back from the UK to Ireland. And within that had been, I guess, speaking more and more to people about posture and about the tenets of prevention was something that I was always really, really keen on from my education. And so that was something that I've carried through with my patient care. It's always been part of my approach, and looking very much at trying to help somebody to rehab, but to get to the point then where they were not coming back to me with the same problem, because that we had resolved the issue as opposed to resolving the symptoms. So just ended up having more and more conversations with people about their alignment, about the way they were sitting, the way they were maybe sleeping, and just getting into that kind of an area. And then had a bit of a personal epiphany in my mid-40s, which is a long time to have gone through my life with breasts at that point. And it was the first time I'd ever had a bra fitting done. And I didn't have much in the way of physical issues at the time because I had played international rugby for Ireland. So I was reasonably fit physically, but the difference it made to me psychologically was just massive, like huge. And I'm not shy, but it just gave me this feeling that I could take on the world. And there was just this increased self-esteem and self-confidence, really, that I wasn't expecting. And I was actually going to an event in London. I was going to the Royal Albert Hall to the Proms. I had never been to it, but basically the Proms is this massive orchestral event. And I was walking in the door, and if they had said, "Oh my goodness, the first violinist has fallen ill, can anybody play the violin?" I'd have been like, "I can't play, but I'll go up there and give it a go." Like, I had that much confidence that I was ready to, do whatever was needed. But during the whole performance, I was sitting there thinking, well, if I'm feeling like this, that's really going to work for such and such. And I was thinking of my patients in my head and thinking that would really help with her, and that would really help her. But also then I was seeing the physical benefits because I could feel that it was easy for me to stay sitting in a position where I was breathing well, in a position where I knew my pelvic floor was functioning well, in a position where, you know, just that stacked alignment was giving me better overall function. So that started me thinking about all my neck patients and my mid back patients and my lower back patients. And then when I went back and saw them, I began to realize how many of them were in really, really poorly fitting bras, because I would twang their brand and find out. And then that kind of led, I suppose, to other conversations, which was women saying, oh, well, I hate wired bras. I never wear wired bras because they hurt and I can't wait to take it off at 4:00 in the afternoon. And I was like, what is going on here? So started to do some research. So this would have been 2010, 2011. And really back then, there was not a lot of research available. There was some sporadic bits here and there, but there's a group that started in Portsmouth in the 2007 kind of time scale. And they had started, well, at that point, I don't think they'd had anything published as yet. But then once they started to publish, that's a group of biomechanicians, and they have done massive pioneering work in terms of breast health and us learning how the breast moves and so on. So their focus is biomechanics, the breast biomechanics, and how the breast then impacts, you know, on somebody's movement, for example. So realized that that this was a field that was not very well catered for from the point of view of either the research. And there's another group in Australia, and they've done some really good stuff also over the last 20 years, really. But also the other place that I was getting some information from was the plastic surgery field, because when somebody has a realization that their breast weight is something that's causing them issues, they will go to their primary care physician or their GP and request a breast reduction, because that's the only option that they know of. It's the only option that they get offered very often. So then the plastic surgeons or oncology surgeons, if it's involving breast cancer, they have done some studies that have shown some kind of outcome measures. So they've looked at what people are coming in with in terms of presenting symptoms, and then how people are with those presenting symptoms afterwards. So that's actually a really good source of information as well. So I was reading all this and going, this is crazy that women don't know this. So how do I get this information out to people, and how do we resolve the problem without it being surgery? So I had started, as I say, to already see it in my patients, and I would say to them, look, that bra, all I know is that bra isn't fitting you. I don't know how to tell you anything else yet, but go out and get a professional fitting. And they would come back in something that was potentially just as bad, if not worse. Right. And then, you know, when you're kind of in the situation where you're like, I can't send them anywhere else for this, so what am I going to do? I'm going to learn how to do it myself. So that's what I did. I went and I found, it was hard work to find a course that I could go on. What I did, I learned how to fit a bra optimally, but then I took that information and I channeled it into my therapeutic knowledge and my biomechanical eye, so that I wasn't just looking at putting somebody into the right bra. I want you in your optimal posture, and then we're going to put you in the right bra, because it changes the fit. So if somebody is sitting in a flex position, then the cup on the bra is going to sit differently to if they sit in a more upright position. They fill the cup, literally fill the cup. So that then led me to thinking, okay, I need to actually create this as a service that people can avail of. It can be additional to their treatment, or it can be the only thing they need, because this is something that isn't only applicable to people when they're injured. Mm-hmm. So one of the things, I've been in private practice since I've qualified, really, and patients come when they need you, when they are in pain, when they have a physical problem that needs to be assisted, whereas prevention is a much harder sell. And I found that when I was doing postural work, I started to try and do some postural work as a preventive with people, but they have to be educated into the fact that postural work is going to be useful for them. So then how do you educate them first? So that was a really challenging situation. But what I found once I started down the breast health road, that women were really, really interested in finding out more, because they could recognize that they were having some issues once somebody pointed it out to them. Whereas prior to that, it was just part of being a woman and they just put up with it. And there's a lot of that goes on with women's health issues. So I've kind of forayed into the women's health world through this. And I have so much respect for pelvic health physios and the work that they do in terms of looking after women, again, with issues that women have that they think are normal. What we know is they're common, but they're not normal, and they don't have to be put up with. So that's been, that's been a real eye opener for me, because I wasn't aware of that level of work either. So a large part of what I do now is I train other therapists to provide this service to their patients, because basically my patients loved it and were getting a huge benefit from it, whether it was somebody just knocking on the door saying, I believe you're offering this, it's called PostureFitting, I'd like to have it done, but they may not have been in pain, but they could still come and have it done, or whether it was with my existing patients. But it was really interesting as well, because I found, and I hadn't realized this, that I had more female patients than male, even though my background would have been primarily sport, and that more of those females had neck and back pain than anything else. So if I had males in, it was very often a peripheral injury, sometimes back and neck pain, but when you actually broke it down, more women with back and neck pain than men. And that's proven in the research, that women have more back and neck pain than men. And yes, you can say there's hormonal considerations with that, but nobody's actually gone, you know what, there's maybe two elephants in the room that we're not thinking about, because literally nowhere in the research does anybody mention breasts as the force that they are, that gravity just grabs and pulls us into a more flexed position, which is then harder to get out of. Did I say all that without taking a breath?
Ooh. No. And yes. But I think the passion and the pathway that you've taken resonates beyond the expertise, obviously. And I think that's critical for everybody who listens. And for everybody who's here at World Congress, that's the takeaway for me, is everybody who's here, the expertise, but also the passion and following what's true to you and what you've done. And I'll go a million different directions, but patients coming to you when they need something versus the preventative or the mitigative strategy. Yes, that's a thing, but we've also identified there's two things that women have that need to be identified also as a thing. So is there a move to make this universal healthcare as a mitigative strategy? So if I'm a woman and I have breasts, like, why is this not mainstream to be fitted and to have postural things that are covered by X, Y, and Z?
I honestly don't know the answer to that question, because I ask myself the same question every day. I think there has been, traditionally, women's healthcare has been very slow to catch up with the fact that women are not small men. And there's a lot of movements forward now in that, thanks to the fact that we are getting more research done, the fact that there are more females who are, and males, because the male allies are really important, but just the fact that women are now being recognized as being an entity that is not simply a small man. Because when you look at the stats on the amount of research that has been done involving females, it sat at about 6% for a long time. I think that is now gradually increasing, but we're still only, in the small teens, and it's like 12% now, something like that. So there's a recognition that needs to be done, and it is happening, which is a good start. But for me, there's not enough clinical application within the research that's getting done, specifically in terms of breast health, because I guess it's great to get the research, but I think for me, I've always been very much about, what are we going to do with that research? How can we take that and make it applicable into the people that we're meeting on a daily basis? So that knowledge transfer from the academic side into the clinical side, I think, is really important. And I think this is probably one of the things that I'm doing, is that I'm taking research that not nobody else has read, but that may not have been something that may have occurred to people to read, and taking that and going, okay, how do we create something that the patient can actually benefit from with that? And in doing that, with my own patients, like I say, it was very beneficial, and they were very happy with the outcome. But then what happened was people would say, oh, well, my aunt is in Galway, or my, I nearly said my uncle, my sister is in London, maybe. My sister's in London. Do you have somebody in London that can do it? Or do you have somebody in Galway? Or do you have, and I was like, no, I can do it virtually, and I can do it virtually and it works well. But then I realized, I need to spread this. So that's why I now train therapists to do it.
And I think it's, as you're speaking and as you're walking through the topic and through your presentation yesterday that I was in the room for as much as I could be, it's almost so obvious that we end up missing it. Like, just apply it to soccer, and we're looking at a Q angle from the pelvis to the inside of the knee, and we're measuring that, and it's like, it's different. Maybe that has something to do with ACL tears in this population. And so I'm almost floored by the fact that this is relatively new and there isn't more done with it. So
it's totally hidden in plain sight.
Yeah.
And not covered in any medical training. So not just in our programs, not in midwifery, not in nursing, not in any medical training. It's like, let's not talk about the boobs unless we're talking about them from a cancer perspective.
Or me being the one in the room.
It's just not, it hasn't been acknowledged or hasn't been recognized as a field, and really as a field, I think, in terms of the impact. But again, I think that, that's that catch-22 where there was no research to show what the impact is, and now we've got the research showing what the impact is. I think it's incumbent on us to do something with that.
And it's that the mitigative tool or preventative tool is, if I'm working in baseball and I have a bunch of pitchers who blow out their UCLs in their elbow, why are we waiting till after the UCL is blown out to do the rehab or the mitigator strategy so that they don't get it a second time? And this is front loaded.
Yeah, completely. It's a pun-filled field. It's great.
Yeah.
Did I tell you about the 11,000 breast bounces?
Tell me about it.
What bounces 11,000 times in a soccer match? It's not the ball.
It's beautiful. I love this. Is there a movement? I mean, obviously there's a lot of movement, as you captured in your
way too much movement. That's what we're trying to decrease.
Great. Yeah. You can laugh. We got Pete in the background. He's still here. That is like, those are the pieces. When I limited knowledge, commercially available, quote unquote, sports bra, is this partway there? Working with female athletes, are they aware within their sports equipment? So if we go to hockey or we go to something else where they're wearing equipment on top of, is this regularly accessible? Are you in those spaces? Is there a desire to push into, with female sport rightfully so gaining more traction, at least in North America, with professional hockey league now, professional soccer coming to North America? This seems like we should probably do some work here.
So we have the research showing us that there are performance benefits to being optimally supported. Most of the research that's done is looking at the external support of just the actual bra. So as I say, what we do with the therapeutic approach to it is going a little bit beyond the bra, because we're looking at the internal support of the body through posture.
Yeah, brace on the outside of the body is not the internal.
Exactly. So we're doing both. But when it does come to the sports bra side, so there's a couple of things. I'm really, really pleased with the fact that there's more conversations about sports bras, about the fact that people are talking openly about it now, whereas before it would have been like a hush hush in the corner. We're not supposed to say that word out loud. My worry is that the conversation is about sports bras and not about optimally fitted sports bras. Because if somebody goes and buys a sports bra and the market is now massive, because of course, jump on the bandwagon and everybody's making them now, how do you know what to buy? How do you know what's going to suit your sport? How do you know what's going to suit your body? How do you know what's going to suit your breast shape? How do you know what size to get? So none of that is information that women have when they are going to buy a sports bra, unless they have been provided with that education. And unfortunately, right now, there are very few of us providing it. So it's a big global mission to get that out there. So that's the one thing for me, is that we need to try and be talking about optimally fitted when we're talking about the word sports bra all the time. But the other thing that kind of concerns me is that if people are only thinking about sports bras at the time that the person is active, that's not the athlete's whole day. Do we give them orthotics to just wear when they're running? do they get given any other protective equipment to only wear in their sport? Well, maybe in terms of some protective equipment, but something like that is supporting a body part that needs that support at least when they're weight bearing. So 16/7, but there are some women who need breast support when they're sleeping.
Right.
So it can be 24/7. But that conversation also needs to be had. So we're not just supporting the athlete when they're active, we're supporting them for all the rest of the time to facilitate that activity being as good as it can be.
That's brilliant. And it's sort of a universal theme of World Congress as well. It's not just this one piece, it's all of these pieces, and how do we put that together? And that's a little bit of what this conference has been about. Don't want to take up too much of your time, you've given plenty. Where do you go from here? What are your takeaways from being a part of WFAT and World Congress? Obviously delivering a lot of expertise as an expert in the field. What do you walk away with?
So I suppose the first thing that has happened for me here is that this has been a full circle moment, because I was on the first task force to establish WFAT. And so to see that there have been 13 World Congresses is incredible. From what was the very first meeting in Dallas at 8 o'clock in the morning. Gosh, you North Americans have early morning meetings. And that to see what's the organization, how much the organization has grown. It's been lovely to see that happen. And I've been involved with BASRAT, with the development of BASRAT. I was on their first executive committee. So from that perspective, it's just been a lovely kind of full circle moment to see the growth of the professions. And to see the unification of the professions from that perspective. From the perspective specifically of breast health, can I use the word desperate? I think I can use the word desperate. I am desperate to get more therapists offering this service, literally worldwide. I've got somebody in New Zealand who is starting to offer it. I've got interest from the States and from Australia, and from a therapist in Bermuda. And I've got some therapists working in Ireland, England, Scotland. Nobody in Wales yet. If anybody's listening from Wales, call me, hit me up. But I just need more therapists who can offer this service to their patients, because the best way to disseminate this information is to have other people disseminating it.
No, absolutely. She is the Booby Physio, but Siobhan, thank you so much. Much more than just that. It's been a pleasure listening to you, meeting you for the first time in person. Having you on here, and I hope this is a bit of a channel to get this out there to other people. Hopefully some connections through this. Plenty of connections made here at World Congress in Maynooth, just outside of Dublin. I'll just leave it to you to close it out however you want. To our listeners, we'll attach contact info for you if you're okay with that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But close it out however you wish. Thank you again so much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thanks again for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part of this community. Check us out online, firststartherapy.com. That's FIRSTAR therapy.com. Or email us with feedback, consult@firststartherapy.com. CONSULT@firststartherapy.com. On Instagram @firststar.therapy, and our podcast host @letschat.at. This is First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast.